You're listening to Marketing Talks. Digital marketers and entrepreneurs talk about work, life, and more. Hosted by Daniel Moore.
Yalla. Hi everyone, hello, happy holidays. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Talks. This is a marketing product entrepreneurship podcast, and I'm Daniel Moore. I'm your host. And those of you who haven't met me before, I'm a PPC expert. I specialize in paid media across the big ad networks, Meta ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads. Today, in those exciting times, I host a very special guy. Some of you probably met before, read about, worked with, or even listened to in his own podcast, Talking Automation, in Hebrew, Medabrim Automatia. So I want to welcome David Zisner, who is the CEO of LeAndolini Solutions. Do I pronounce it right?
You pronounce it perfectly.
Okay, that's great. So I'm so thrilled to have you here. Finally, we talked about it
I think it's 4 or 5 months we've been planning this.
Yeah. So finally we're here. And thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for hosting me here. It's great. It's really fun here.
For sure. We are going to talk about a bunch of things today. First, we're going to get to know you a little bit. Those of the listeners who never engaged or thought about automation or whatever, and a bit about the agency that you started long time ago and doing great. Good for you. We'll probably dive into all aspects of automation and implementing processes across companies and organizations and so on and so forth. How to define good process and company who does automation better versus somewhere where it needs improvement. And common mistakes, common tips, and so on and so forth.
Sure, sounds great.
Let's dive into it. And we met each other. We talked about having this podcast several months ago, and then I got to know your activity a little bit further. I listened to your amazing podcast. Really,
thank you.
Good content.
Thank you.
So now you have a chance to tell us a bit about yourself, your
Cool.
own words.
Cool. So, David, like you said, father of 3, and I'm the CEO of LeAndolini Solutions. We're a business automation agency based in Israel, and we specialize in working with companies, finding the best processes for them, how to really take business processes that are cross, not just the marketing or not just the sales, but really looking at connecting everything together so you don't get silos. You get a fluent process from lead to client to the service itself to returning client, etc. And so we really love the challenges of coming to a new company, really discovering the processes, how things should be done, what is the essence of what needs to be done, and really how to build it in the best way. Find the best tools, integrate them. I come originally from high tech. I'm an engineer. And I was working both for enterprise companies and for a startup. And at some point, I realized that everything we've been doing, as far as me and my team, we've been doing as far as automating technical processes, it's actually very interesting for me to take that mindset and that way of thinking into automating business processes to make them really very, very efficient. And that's what we've been doing since 2013.
Wow, long time.
Yeah, it's a long time, and technology really made a leap as far as automation and no code. I guess we're gonna talk a lot about no code down the road. Mm-hmm. So I discovered a platform in 2013, a platform called Zapier that many people know now. Not many people knew back in the day.
Definitely.
And I really looked at it as a means of building a better process, even for businesses just around me, friends, colleagues, family. Developed the first Israeli app for Zapier.
Wow.
Yeah, for the email marketing platform Responder of Mesa in Israel. So I just built the app for that and just started connecting stuff together, like connecting that to Google Sheets or to go to webinar or CRMs. And really, it was just playing with stuff, just, connecting systems together, connecting tools together. It was just a way of like doing something cool. Hey, look, someone registered on this landing page. I can make them automatically register to a GoToWebinar event. Now, it sounds trivial these days, but it wasn't
back in the day.
It wasn't back in the day, and it was also for a long time was a kind of like a one-trick pony. That's kind of what I know how to do, how to connect responder to GoToWebinar. But turned out, but that started the discussion with business owners about, hey, what do you spend a lot of your work on? What do you spend a lot of your time on? Where is the stuff that falls that you don't get to do or that isn't get executed very well or takes a lot of your time? And that kind of started the discussion rolling. So from something very small, I discovered passion for it because I saw that I can actually build stuff that matters to people and matters to businesses. And it started rolling from there. So it was like more marketing automation at the beginning. Now it's business automation. So we look at it from a wider perspective of all the processes and different departments in a business. So
you cover pretty much all aspects of business. It's not just like...
As much as possible, yeah. You can be an expert on everything. And I always say that... we won't build the campaign for you. I don't understand PPC, obviously, like you do, but I can work with a PPC expert on if we build this campaign and they come to this landing page and then do this to see this ad. What do we want to do? What do we want that will happen now? Maybe we want to serve them some sort of questionnaire. Maybe send a WhatsApp message. Maybe send them directly to the CRM and do this and do that. So our much of our work is collaborative with the other professionals that are doing the marketing or the experts on how to close a deal. And so what makes the sales process better.
Right. So basically someone defines the, requirement or let's say, what they want to happen. They come to you. It can be in marketing, in product side, in sales side, in whichever side. And you guys can help them set it up. No matter which department it belongs to.
Yeah, we help them before we start setting it up. It's... many times in business, even in young companies, stuff is being performed in a certain way because that's how you're used to. So you're used to doing things in a specific way, handling a lead in a specific manner, doing this, doing that. And one of the first things that we always do is we ask why and what would we like to happen. Because if a company does something in a specific way and it works perfectly and there's no problem, great for them, but then they probably wouldn't be talking to us because they usually be talking to us when something isn't optimal, isn't running well, or is taking a lot of resources. Yeah, not scalable, not taking up too many resources. So we always go to the root of what is important for the process, what is important for that will happen, that will be executed, and the way we see it, if we achieve the end goal in a way that's totally different than the way it worked before, but it makes it much more scalable. It still, works within the experience that the client wants their clients to have. And if it feels organic to the way the company works, that's a better way than the way it was done and just automated.
Right.
As human beings, we take a lot of decisions that automation won't necessarily know how to take. But automation is much more scalable if the process is built correctly.
So you're suggesting that you would absorb a deviation or some sort of statistical mistake in some ways rather than do everything manual.
Yeah, because this is something that took me some time to getting used to because I'm somewhat of a perfectionist and I don't want something to work 99 out of 100 times. I want it to work 100 out of 100. But there's something in that perfectionism that you have to kind of set aside and release to understand that you're building something that's scalable and it has to work well enough within the scale that you're planning. Okay,
that's an interesting scoop, interesting point of view. So you can't be perfectionist and an automation person.
You can try, but you kind of have to be a bit lazy. And I don't think I'm lazy enough. I'm working on being more lazy to be an automation person because if you're lazy, you're looking for a way to make stuff happen without you doing it every time, or your team or whatever.
Right.
So you have to be kind of lazy. It won't be good to be a perfectionist. But I remember when I just got started, like I said, all I knew was how to connect the email marketing to the webinars, and I would refresh the email marketing list to see that everyone has their links and everything worked correctly, and did the automation skip one person, and because it takes time to build trust in a new system, in a new product, in a new methodology, a way of making things happen. With time, you understand that you kind of set up checkpoints for how would you know that the automation works well, and your control mechanism. Then you don't have to check each one. You can just know that if I don't get
XYZ, I know that ABC is not like ideal, or I can improve the process.
Exactly. And the rest of the time where you have where everything works well, you can just kind of set it aside and start handling the other challenge that you want to solve for the company.
Right. Let's talk about skill set a little bit, because you said in the beginning that you came from a technological background.
Yeah.
And I suspect, many of our listeners are non-techie.
Yeah.
Either, business owners, employees, whatever. And they say, okay, wait, wow, that's really, that's easy for someone who's technical.
For an engineer.
Okay, but what about me?
Yeah.
Like, what's my takeaways from here? Like, what would you tell him?
We're living in a very interesting time for to be asking that question, because I think that's the time we can speak about no-code. The no-code revolution, which is, I consider it even bigger than the revolution that I saw when the first iPhone came out. When the first, 2007, when Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone, it was a closed system. Apple is a company that believed in controlling every aspect of their product. So other than obviously building the phone, releasing the phone, they would develop the apps for the iPhone. And Steve Jobs was very adamant about it, that Apple would be the one developing the apps. And
no App Store yet.
No App Store yet.
No App Store yet.
App Store, there was a place to download apps, but only those developed by Apple itself.
Okay.
So the developer community, when they saw the first iPhone, and they were, I don't know, have you seen by the way, the launch of the first iPhone? It's on YouTube.
I think I didn't.
There's a great part. Steve Jobs obviously does the build up, and then when he shows the iPhone and he shows the screen and there's a camera filming his finger sliding across the screen and it opens, you hear the entire audience going, it's like they saw the most amazing thing in the world. So it was a closed system. Only Apple developed the apps, and the developer community was kind of mad and telling Apple, come on, give us access. Let us build apps for this beautiful thing that you've built. And it took them about 6 months to convince Steve Jobs to create an SDK, a development kit for the iPhone, for external developers to start building apps. And an amazing thing happened when they did that, because if Apple has a couple of tens of thousands of employees and you allocate a couple of thousand of those for building apps, there's no way that could compete with the creativity and the work power and developer power of tens of thousands of developers that are just building apps out of their garage. And it actually created a new profession. And and so you took something that only several thousands of people could do within Apple, and you opened that for tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of developers all around the world, and you got apps that the Apple developers wouldn't even think of building. Waze and Snapchat and stuff like that, and going forward to our age, automation and integration has always been possible. Basically, it's if you know what you're building, you have to be and you're working with systems that have an open API that you can integrate them, either create a native integration or through some third party. You can connect anything to anything, but you'd have to be a developer. You'd have to be a developer that's versed with API, that knows how to read API documentation, how to build API, how to set up a server to do that. And so you have people who know how to do that with all around the world. But what the no-code did, the no-code revolution did, and Zapier was a pioneer in that, that they can actually take the integration and the act of connecting two apps together in a way that's meaningful business-wise.
Yeah.
And you don't need to understand how code works. You don't need to be a good coder. You don't need to know what code even looks like, because you're doing everything visually. You're doing that with no code. And suddenly you're taking something that the API developers all around the world knew, and every marketer, every office manager, every sales person can now automate part of their work without being a developer, without being dependent upon developers, budgets, etc. So suddenly everyone can be a no-code developer.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why it's so powerful, and because now you can have millions of no-code developers all around the world. And in 2018, at the end of 2018, we interviewed the Zapier CEO, Wade Foster. We interviewed him, great guy, and one of the things he said, I asked him about the how Zapier got started and really the world of no-code and automation. And one of the things he said was that he used to be the most sophisticated Zapier user there is, because he was part of the building of the app. He says, I don't even get near to what our users are building now. I can look at what users are building, and it's way more sophisticated than I would have thought of. And that's the power of taking something and giving everyone that power.
Interesting. So, that was roughly an overview of how the market or the industry has evolved ever since 2008, and you actually tie it together with, setting up an API and basically crowdsourcing your app for developers outside who can build on top of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, like Shopify is another great example, right?
Yeah.
Shopify app marketplace. And
it's a great example, because take Shopify and they build a platform, right, for people to set up a shop and start selling their stuff. But if they wouldn't have an open API, if it wouldn't be open for integration, and especially for no-code integrations,
they wouldn't be where they are now.
Yeah,
Definitely.
because they would have to have the developer power to develop anything that their clients might need. So the client might say, give us an integration with MailChimp, for example. I want everyone who makes a purchase to go into a MailChimp list, or an audience, so we can send them a journey. Cool. So they can make an integration with MailChimp, and perhaps they've already done that natively. But let's say I'm using ActiveCampaign, or I'm using Drip, or I'm using some local autoresponder.
You need to cover, basically, you need to cover all apps in the world.
Yeah,
that might be in use along with Shopify, which is endless.
It never ends. But if you just do a proper integration with a no-code platform, have all the abilities there, and have everything very accessible, then you don't need to be. If you're Shopify, you don't need to have your platform integrate with everything. You just need to integrate with the leading no-code integration platforms, and I can build my own integration the way I want it to my specific autoresponder that they're not even familiar with.
Interesting. Any preference, by the way, between Zapier and Make, or any one of them is more intuitive, in your opinion?
Zapier is simpler to understand because it's more basic. You can do sophisticated stuff with it. Now they have a visual editor that they're just rolling out. You can do more complex stuff, but it's easier to get started with it, but it's more limited as far as the ability and how far you can take it. We work mostly with Make. Previously Integromat, now Make, and I equate that really to I don't compare for the really simple stuff. You can compare Zapier with Make, or you can compare that with Pebbly or other no-code platforms. Once you go to the more complex business scenarios that really implement a complex business process that could involve like a form and a payment method and a CRM and stuff like that, and inventory. I don't compare between Make and Zapier. I compare between Make and coding, because we do very complex flows that if I would be doing them with Make, I would have to have a developer on staff to write the code for that. So we prefer Make by a mile, because it allows us that much more flexibility to solve the larger problems that our customers need. If all they need is get my lead from a Facebook lead ad into a Google Sheet, pick your weapon of choice. It doesn't really matter, because it's a very simple.
They both do it.
Yeah, they both do it. But if you want to have a more complex and have that check against your inventory in Airtable, or put that into Pipedrive as your CRM, or something that's more complex, Make is that much more suited, that much more flexible. And also once you get to understand how both platforms work and kind of get your hands dirty inside both of them, you can be a lot faster with Make just because of the way the editor is built.
So it sounds like it's more, it enables more customization too.
Definitely.
When you say write a code. Okay. Interesting. And yeah, we just earned a comparison between the two, probably biggest platforms of no-code automation. So thanks for that. Let's talk about today's noisy marketing environment and multiple, discovery, social platforms and notifications from everywhere. In today's noisy environment, how important is marketing and sales automation, like leads activation, leads nurturing? How common this is to see a company that misses out big time on not activating leads?
It's a very good question because the awareness now for customer journeys and for automation and for creating meaningful interactions with leads or with clients or with onboarding clients in a friendly way and in a consistent way. I think the awareness is there. I'm seeing the awareness there because we get calls from a company that, hey, we want to build a better flow or something's not working here. I think there are still many gaps in understanding on what automation can do for a marketing process. So take, for example, let's say that I have a marketing funnel for some sort of course.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I'm a university and I want you to enroll into one of my courses. So I'm putting my ads out there and I have my landing page.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have my CRM and I want my reps to talk to you, or I just want you to schedule a meeting. And obviously I want you to arrive at the meeting in order for my people to meet you and to have a conversation, convince you on why you should study with us, and take it from there to enrollment, payment, and all that stuff. Many times when you think of a marketing funnel like the one I just described, you're used to thinking about what I call the shiny day flow. So there's a landing page, there's a campaign, there's a landing page. You'll leave your details there. You'll schedule a meeting, or we'll talk to you and we'll schedule a meeting. You'll come to the meeting, you'll hear our offer, you'll take it, and off you go. And obviously everyone knows that not all landing pages don't convert by 100%, obviously, so you do remarketing. But I kind of look at a funnel like the one I described, which is a pretty simple one. But I always look at each point. You have an intersection, and you can either go left or right. So left is you either leave your details on the landing page or you don't. So you have remarketing for that. Another intersection is I want you to schedule a meeting. So let's say that I put a tool like Calendly or you can book me or Acuity for you to book that automatically. This is also an intersection because some people will book the meeting automatically, others won't. What I do with those that don't, I need to convince them in other manners, resend them the offer to book a meeting. So I can send you a WhatsApp or an article or stuff like that, or whatever would get you to do the things that I wanted you to do, which is schedule a meeting. But even after you've scheduled a meeting, most people don't arrive at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's
say, you don't show up. But let's say you have a 30% arrival rate. 70% of the people don't attend. What are you going to do with those? Are you going to warm them up to attend? Are you going to send them an automated follow-up? Hey, you missed a meeting, schedule another one. Are you going to call them? So, and that happens across each intersection, each point in your funnel. You have to think about, the minimum of two options that your lead has.
Mm-hmm.
They either do it or they won't do it. And I think many times we tend to kind of skip some of those.
Mm-hmm.
So for the no-shows, there are companies that could say, okay, it's natural. People don't show up. Let's get another lead, or let's keep warming them up in our newsletter, and eventually they'll come. But that lead is relevant right now to something that they've done. You tag them specifically as one. It showed an interest in having a meeting, but not showing up. What are you going to do with those?
So when you set up good automation for even for old leads, let's say, you can actually earn, money on the floor.
Definitely.
Existing lists like old, outdated. Some of them probably are not in the same, buying. What I'm trying to say, like buying mood.
Yeah,
Like they're
in the
they're no
mindset.
longer interested.
Yeah,
But you still can automate something and drive back some intent.
yeah.
Interesting.
Because it will never be 100% of anything. So
For sure.
you won't have 100%, even if you automate the hell out of it, you won't have 100% of anything. But even just increasing the attendance rate from 30% to 35% or 40%, and you can do that either by sending good content to encourage them to attend the meeting, or for those that don't show up, get them to attend the next meeting or to reschedule a meeting and attend that one. Once you're raising those percentages, at the end, it's a funnel. So you raise some percentages at some point of it.
Here,
You're you're raising
proves
everything.
it all the way.
Yeah, you're earning it all the way down the road.
Yep.
So it's never a straight line. It's a lot of trial and error, and sometimes you think that something will work great, and it doesn't. Sometimes we had campaigns where we did stuff that I thought, hey, this is going to be the Pulitzer of all marketing campaigns. It's so ingenious, what an automation, and nothing happened. And we had others when we just, hey, let's automate this out of the CRM, send this message, send that. And suddenly a lot of leads flooded in. So you don't really know, but you have to always put those checkpoints and the actions you're going to do and measure them on what succeeds. Because you improve something at some point of the funnel, you're going to earn that improvement all the way down the funnel.
Yep, definitely. It grows not exponentially, but linearly.
Yeah.
Across all along the funnel, down the funnel. When I get a potential new client, I normally once I get access to their advertising platforms or monitoring, tracking platforms like Google Analytics and so on, Google Ads. I tend to look at very specific things over and over again. Of course, it depends what the company does and, like how big is the scope of advertising, how much they spend, and what's their, like how much attention they pay into their advertising budget. If they did it in-house, outsource, different questions. But at the end of the day, I look at very specific things. I look at conversion rates, quality scores.
Yeah.
I try to get a hold of, how well diverse are their funnels and their landing pages. And I think that this is, it highly correlates with automation kind of thinking. So when I see, bad scores, or I see that there is one page that converts 3% and the other one converts 0.5%, then I raise those flags. And I know that this is, for me, it's an opportunity. How do you assess a new organization / client? You can choose whichever, if it's self-service product or, like self-service funnel that dives into a trial, or probably demo, like request a demo. I think it's even more, correct me if I'm wrong, but more, the importance of automation there is even higher because it's more manual work at the end of the day. There is demo to do.
Yeah.
How do you assess a new client that stops by, how badly they need you, to help them automate their flows?
It's a combination of, first of all, we ask them about their process.
Mm-hmm.
So we never assume anything about a process. We always ask them to tell us about the process. Now, you can see, I can ask you about your process and hear what you're doing and really comes up like, why you're doing this, why not this, why this? Because I assume that I don't know anything. You know your clients best, you know your product best, but I know what a process should look like. So I kind of, my ear is attuned to hearing the holes. Hey, sure, we have meetings. People come and say, okay, what if they don't show up? Like, if we go back to the example, we don't do anything. Okay, that's a problem. But also, I think it very much, one of the most important things is how open you are to sometimes doing very fundamental changes to the way you're working, because if the
You talk about
if everything is
adopting changes.
Yeah, adopting changes, because
Adapt.
if what you need is very basic, if everything is working well, you just need this, fix this, fix that. Okay, we might work together, we might not, because you're on the right path. Maybe you don't need us. But if it's fundamentally flawed as far as your process, and but you're not open to doing it in a new way, or adopting a new mindset, it will be very hard for me to drive that change. We're here in Tel Aviv. I came back from clients that we've been working with for the past more than 2 years. Great clients of us, and we met them at a point where they were scaling up their business, and it was working. It was working very well as far as the marketing, as far as the product. It was excellent, but the processes were designed for an organization that handles like a tenth of the amount of leads that they were handling. So the processes were very manual, very cumbersome. It was really, they were sinking under all the manual work. So there was a lot to be done. And if they were not in the mindset that they were like, okay, just tell us what needs to be done. Let's do this thing together. Let's learn all our processes together and do. It would be very hard to drive that change. They were so dedicated to making that happen because they were so overwhelmed with all the work that they were doing. That they just kind of said, sure, we're with you all the way. And it was a very collaborative process. And obviously, we asked them a lot of questions, and we studied, and we tell them, you do this, we do that. And it was such a growth mindset. So I think that's what I'm trying to say is if you have a growth mindset,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter because you can solve anything. If you have a fixed mindset, like, no, listen, this is the way things are done. Just solve us this problem of copying this data manually, doing that manually. That might be nice to work together, but we'll be kind of limited by how far we're going to get.
Right. And what if it's a very big tech stack? Let's say the company works, the sales department works with, dozen different platforms. And some of them have better APIs, some of them have, worse API.
We're doing that process now with a hotel chain here in Israel, and starting their stack and starting their processes. The more elaborate the processes are, the more complex the processes are, and the more and the larger their stack is, it's harder.
Right.
Because the setup time is longer. You have to learn many more APIs. Maybe a tool is great for doing the work, but it's bad for integration. So it's really difficult. For that specific client that I just mentioned, I actually uploaded on LinkedIn. I think it was like a year ago, a picture. They had a new manager came in, and she wanted to know what we were doing. So I said, okay, I'll just create a diagram of the stack. And I was amazed by how many tools. I think there are 20 tools there.
Yeah,
in their stack now.
Once you visualize it.
Yeah, I visualized it. It was beautiful. I mean, it was art for someone like me because you have all the tools and you put the centers, and they've had about let's say 60% of the stack when we came in. We introduced the other 40, or maybe it was 70-30, because we saw things that were basically missing in their stack. So they were not managing the inventory well. So we put Airtable there. And they were doing manual the payments. They were sending payment links manually, creating them manually. We put a platform there, an Israeli platform that can create payment pages on demand through the API. So it's custom built for the client. So we kind of completed the other 30-40% of the stack, but 60% of it was already there. It was really like looking at it and seeing everything in one picture, all the icons of the different platforms they were using. It was amazing.
Yeah, sounds very satisfying.
Very.
Nice.
Very.
Okay. We're getting closer to the end of the episode. And I wanted to ask you, take the chance, I've heard many stories of yours and, things you've done for clients. And I want to know, where do you get your inspiration being in this industry for so long and starting, such a successful agency and doing so much for tech companies, and I guess also even like low tech maybe.
Yeah, it's just a company that's scaling, and it's not just tech. It's a company that scales and is looking for a way to do things the smart way.
Right. So why don't you share with me and the listeners, Where do you get your inspiration? You can, name drop, whether if it's a YouTube channel. Do you follow someone on Twitter? Did you read? Have you read a good book that you recommend? Why don't you give us some names?
First of all, I love the work of Gary V.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, and there's a whole YouTube video about that where he talks about clouds and dirt. He says that every entrepreneur has to be in the clouds and the dirt. The clouds is where you dream of what you're building and like your vision going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the dirt is, connecting stuff together with the nuts and bolts of everything. And I love the way he said it, because I think you can't have one without the other. You have just the nuts and bolts, just the dirt without the clouds. So you're building something, but perhaps it's not in your vision or not the correct thing. And if you're only up in the clouds but don't connect to the nuts and bolts, then it's kind of daydreaming, because it's not realistically connected to what you're trying to
reality.
achieve. So I really love the clouds and dirt. I love two books that I really love. One I used to give out to our students, which is the first one is The Power of Habits, by Charles Duhigg, I think. It's a great book about habits and how to adopt and how to change.
Right.
And
I
also,
think I listened to it in Headway. It's an app that reads you, summarizes and reads books to you. Yeah.
So I read it, and it's also on Audible, so you can get that. The other one, which I've just listened to on Audible, is Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's a great book about how small changes can make a big difference. And I listened to it on Audible. The second it ended, I just rewound. You don't rewind now. It's not like the 80s. But I rewound and started from the beginning, because what we are doing with automation is we are driving change. And driving change, sometimes the technical part of the integration is the easy part. The hard part is the change mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So these are really sources that I love. Like I said, I used to give out to our students, and it's really something that I think a lot of people who are in our arena or looking to scale, to build something scalable, have to be in that mindset of change, and that mindset of understanding that even though they're not called habits in businesses, they're called processes. There are still good ones and bad ones.
Definitely.
So the more you're adapt to good processes, to adapting good habits, good processes, the easier it will be to automate that. Bill Gates has a famous quote where he says one of the fundamental rules of business, of processes of business, is that when you automate automating good process, an efficient process, increases the efficiency, while automating an inefficient process increases the inefficiency of it. So you don't just go and that's what a lot of times when clients come to us and say, just automate this, we ask, no, what is the goal? What is the end game? What are we trying to achieve here? We want to automate that. We don't want to just automate what you're doing manually. Now, that's not interesting. That might be fun on a technical level. That won't necessarily get you to where you want to get. So I love thinking of what we're doing as changes. It's changing habits. Also, there's something in I do yoga for the past year or so because my back is terrible and I really have to work at it. And in yoga, sometimes, many times you're doing movements that are contradictory. So you're stretching your hands up, but you're pulling your body down. And I think I love that mindset of the contradiction, because many times, we have to tear something apart to build something better, or we have to build an automation that does something very efficiently, but at some point we'll need to introduce to have someone doing an action, like a person doing it. So we just have to have it accessible to them. Like at some point, I want a salesperson to talk to them. I don't want to send a bot.
Right. So that's common between processes in yoga and automation.
Yeah.
Tearing it apart and then putting it together.
Tearing apart, putting it together, looking at stuff not just as a one way of doing stuff, but pulling stuff in different directions. So I love that. So I believe in that.
Nice. David, where would you be in 5 years from now? I wonder.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a good question. First of all, I hope to still be working with companies and really understanding how we can improve businesses, how we can make people's life easier. I think that the gift we have of really learning something new every day, I look at it, and I've been in automation for 10 years. I'm still learning something new every day.
Super important.
Yeah, I hope to still be learning in 5 years, and I hope to be able to build something that can reach many people and help many people, be it like adopting the automation mindset, or be it a tool that people can use to make their lives easier. I look at platforms like Make, like Zapier, and the fact that they put the power in the hands of everyone. That's very inspiring for me. So I hope to be doing something that other people will be able to use and maybe get inspiration from, and also, having fun, because when you build something, be it small or big, and it helps someone, that's a lot of fun. And the technical challenges, they're fun. So
I
hope
agree.
to still be having fun.
Super nice. So yeah, thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to wrap things, and it was super fun episode. I had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you for all the information you shared with us through Pro.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks for that.
So thanks for having me on. Thanks for being so patient. It took us a couple of months to coordinate this. So good job on being patient with that. And thanks for spreading the knowledge. I think the more we spread the knowledge, the more we're able to learn back.
For sure. So thank you, David Zisner, and thank you everyone for listening. We were Marketing Talks, and we also welcome you to follow, share, comment. Let us know what you think. Do you want to participate? Reach out for me in LinkedIn. Let me know if you set up a nice marketing activity, or you started a new startup and you got some traction. Maybe we want you here in Marketing Talks. So thank you, and see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.